A Thousand Splendid Suns is a story of two Afghan women, Miriam and Layla, and their journey through life during the Afghan Civil War. Miriam lives a life of loneliness with her verbally abusive mother and a strange father who abandons her after her mother dies, marrying her off to a shoemaker, Rashid. Contrasting to Layla's life, which is joyful with her parents and childhood best friend / boyfriend Tariq, who Layla becomes pregnant with. After the Civil War grows more fatal, Tariq and his family move away and Layla's parents die in a bombing, leaving Layla pregnant and alone. She is found by Miriam and Rashid and is taken in with the fear of her unborn child's future. She gives up her freedom and marries Rashid. Layla has a baby girl, Aziza, which angers Rashid because he only wants a boy due to the extreme sexism in Afghanistan. Rashid grows verbally and physically abusive, which leads to the two women growing closer since that's the only thing that they have is each other. Main conflict in this book is the civil war going on in Afghanistan that affects all aspects of life for the people of the country, from parents and children being lost to bombings or shootings to women's freedoms and their appearance. This ties to the other conflict, which is women's rights, in which they had little to none. For example, the ban of many freedoms for women like showing their faces and requirement of wearing a burqa in public. The question I pose is, how would you feel if you were not allowed to wear things like makeup, jewelry, fingernail polish, or other cosmetics under strict law, and if you did not confine, you would be brutally beaten or even killed? I would recommend this book for many reasons, but the main one being it gives a new perspective on life and the struggles in other parts of the world. Thousand Splendid Suns dives the reader into very different lives of two very different girls that unify under one shared circumstance, female oppression. In an Amazon book review by Daniel Jolly, we see him agree as he states, "This eye-opening read has the power to change your view of the world and your place in it, and that makes it a truly masterful piece of literature." Again, the book gives us a new perspective into the life of women in Afghanistan and how different the lives they live are from other women in other parts of the world. A specific example from the book is when new laws are set into place for the women in Afghanistan, stating, "You will not, under any circumstances, show your face. You will cover it with a burqa when outside. If you do not, you will be severely beaten," on page 166. This is one of the many things women were told they can and cannot do, while men had little to no restrictions, if not more freedoms, like being legally allowed to marry up to 4 wives. I think I would have enjoyed the book more if it gave more detail into life outside the home, like more experiences of outside in public for Miriam and Layla. I also got very confused by the details of the Civil War, which I understand was not the main focus of the book, but would have helped me understand better why a certain thing was happening in the city that they lived in. Potentially offensive content could be that there are multiple intimate scenes between Rashid and his wives, and Layla and Tariq. The book also includes extreme verbal and physical abuse, but not all terms used in negative context are used in modern American speech, so they will not be as offensive. The book also includes high levels of detail in things like bombings and other parts of the Civil War violence. Again, mildly offensive language is used, but it is mostly offensive in their culture and not ours. A Thousand Splendid Suns has many pros, one being a very different perspective of the Civil War in Afghanistan. The book educates the reader in a very unique way that can't be done by just reading a textbook or news update about the war. We are taught by learning about the life and experiences of women during the war. Another pro of the book is that it creates a deeper connection to the main characters Miriam and Layla, since we watch them grow up and learn their backstories and how their character develops. For example, Miriam acts very cold and mean to Layla when she first moves in, but we see her long past of constant abuse and emotional wall building that causes her to act this way, and we don't immediately label her as an antagonist. The quote I chose was, "Behind every trial and sorrow that he makes us shoulder, God has a reason," on page 28, because it shows the hope that the women of Afghanistan held on to in these trials. In an Amazon book review by Daniel Jolly, Jolly gives us excellent input on the Zini novel. Jolly states, provides the reader with a most telling window into Afghan society over the past 30-odd years. I agree the author does a good job at showing the reader what it is like for Afghan women/society in the recent past and even present. Jolly goes on to say, as Miriam's mother taught her, endurance is the key to surviving as a woman in Afghanistan. I agree with this, but I also think Miriam's mother painted a picture to Miriam that all men are horrible and have bad intentions. While a lot of corrupted Afghan men are and do, her mother, out of anger from her past, teaches Miriam not endurance but hatred. Lastly, Jolly states, this eye-opening read has the power to change your view of the world and your place in it. That makes it a truly masterful piece of literature. I agree this book gives the reader a new perspective on life and those who live in other parts of the world, since it is something you'd never really think was real when you first hear it. In conclusion, I highly recommend A Thousand Splendid Suns because not only does it create an easy understanding of life for women in Afghanistan and the oppression they face, but it also teaches the reader about other parts of the world in an effective and unique way by taking the reader through the life of two women.